European time. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody, and thank you for joining us for this seminar. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the side event on the margins of the third global conference of the Sustainable Food Systems Programme of the One Planet Network. My name is Jamie Morrison, and I'm Director of the Food Systems and Food Safety Division at the Food and Agriculture Organisation. And I will be moderating today's dialogue on sustainable food systems in the Mediterranean region. Our discussion will be centred on a collaborative effort which we are using to accelerate the transformation of food systems in the Mediterranean in the context of the COVID-19 response and recovery, and as a direct contribution to achieving sustainable development goals in the region by 2030. We will hear how FAO, the International Centre for Advanced Mediterranean Agronomic Studies, and the Union for the Mediterranean Secretariat have joined forces to co-develop a multi-stakeholder sustainable food systems platform for the Mediterranean, the Sfs Med Platform. This was recently endorsed as an affiliated project of the One Planet Sustainable Food Systems Programme. This new initiative is the result of a long-standing collaboration between the three organisations and partners in the region. The initiative was stimulated by discussions during the last World Conference on the Revitalisation of the Mediterranean Diet held in Palermo, Italy in May 2019, and which called for the development of a multi-stakeholder meeting place for dialogue on sustainable food systems in the Mediterranean to promote concrete and transformative actions on the ground that link sustainable consumption and production. Today's side event will also allow us to initiate a dialogue on how the sustainable food systems in the Mediterranean can contribute to the preparatory process towards the UN Food Systems Summit in 2021. I am now pleased to introduce Mr. Placido Plaza, Secretary General of CIHEAM, and Isidro Gonzalez, Deputy Secretary General of Union for the Mediterranean, and Maximo Terrero, Chief Economist at the Food and Agriculture Organisation. Each of our colleagues have shared a video with their opening statements. Following these videos, we will have a panel discussion with members of the Sfs Med Platform's coordination desk. And during that discussion, we look forward to receiving any questions that you have through the Q&A or chat function in order to keep this session as interactive as possible. So let's start with the first video statement from Placido Plaza.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and participants, dear friends. First of all, I would like to thank Jamie Morrison, Director of the Food System and Food Security Division at the FAO, for moderating our session, as well as Isidro Gonzalez, Deputy Secretary General of the UFM, and Maximo Torero, Chief Economist at the FAO, for their distinguished contribution to this important event. I also thank the One Planet Network for providing us with the opportunity to draw attention to specific features of the Mediterranean during the Third World Conference of the United Nations Sustainable System Programme, which kept its promises both in terms of the themes developed and the quality of the interventions. The title of this side event echoes like a challenge in the Mediterranean, a challenge that I would like to address here with the partners that are present and with those who are listening to us. You already know that the Mediterranean has been faced with severe crises, that this region is grappling with serious environmental, economic, and societal threats. The COVID-19 crisis has plunged our region into an unprecedented situation that reveals many dysfunctions in our lifestyle and in our production and consumption patterns. In many ways, this crisis mirrors the inequalities that remain in the Mediterranean, between countries, between regions within the countries, and between economic sectors. They have affected them in different ways and with different intensities, but women and men living in rural areas, whose economic activity is based on land and sea natural resources management, have particularly and severely been impacted. Nevertheless, we have to remain hopeful. The Mediterranean is above all about people weaving links and constantly trying, through history and crisis, to project themselves in a common destiny. As we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Barcelona process, and the CIHEAM will soon celebrate 60 years at the service of its member countries in the field of agriculture and fisheries, food and security, and the development of rural and coastal areas, I want to see it as a good omen in this coincidence, with the launching of our joint Mediterranean platform for sustainable food systems. We are all aware of the need to support and accompany changes in our food systems toward more sustainability, responsibility, and equity, especially in the context of this COVID-19 health crisis that has already derived in other crises, including food ones. We believe that these challenges should be faced in the framework of a multi-stakeholder approach involving our institutional partners, the civil society so present and active on the ground, and with private companies that play and will continue to play an important role. These are the reasons why today we engage in co-developing with the FAO and the UFM a sustainable food system platform for the Mediterranean, which work plan will aim at supporting the countries of the region to meet their food security needs and contributing to the achievement of the Agenda 2030 goals in the Mediterranean. We hope that, as a collaborative multi-stakeholder initiative, including all interested actors, this platform will be able to play a central role in strengthening regional collaboration and interregional dialogue on both Mediterranean shores in order to rethink the future of food systems and initiate collective actions. The implementation of this idea that sparked more than a year ago in Palermo during the International Forum on Strategies for More Sustainable Food Systems in the Mediterranean, organized by CIHEAM Bari, should allow us to reconnect with our sometimes forgotten territories, regions, and high-quality local products. It will enhance existing partnerships to overcome together the agricultural, rural, and food challenges facing the region by engaging in a more innovative and inclusive production and consumption systems. I hope that its implementation will also trigger our Mediterranean youth's interest in the region's cultural and historical heritage, including its unique Mediterranean diet. Thank you once again for this opportunity to address you, and I wish you all an excellent work.
Thank you, Placido. And following that, we now have the opening statement of Isidro Gonzalez, Deputy Secretary General of UFM. Thank you.
It is a great pleasure to be here today and present the Sustainable Food System Mediterranean Platform in the framework of the third global conference of the One Planet Network, together with our strategic partners FAO, and CIHEAM. The Union for the Mediterranean, as an intergovernmental Euro-Mediterranean organization which brings together 42 countries, works by mandate to achieve greater levels of integration and cooperation in the region, in the Mediterranean region mainly, through political dialogue, shared technical agendas, and the implementation of region-wide projects and initiatives. This partnership comes at a time of great disruption for the region, compounded by an unprecedented global health crisis with severe economic and social impacts. COVID-19 is a stark reminder of the need for tangible cooperation across borders, sectors, and generations. Our collective response will determine how fast the region recovers and how well we will handle pressing challenges. So it is both about managing the ongoing crisis, firstly, and secondly, building back better the new normality. As a matter of fact, there was not in fact a real normality before, but rather a series of accepted conditions, patterns of conduct of which many were unsustainable ones. We were living in an unsustainable way. And this unsustainable way of living or acting on a daily basis has been one of the reasons, according to some experts, of the COVID-19 crisis also. Secondly, the economic recovery has to focus on blue, green, circular, social, and digital aspects. And also, finally, we have to rethink our consumption and production models, link support to shifting to new sustainable ones, particularly at the local level. So there are important contributions of the Union for the Mediterranean work to a sustainable food system Mediterranean platform, which I would like to recap. Mainly, I have to say that the Union for the Mediterranean is advancing towards we are preparing two ministerial meetings early next year, which will have as a result two ministerial declarations, very important ones. The first ministerial meeting will take place in Malta, the 2nd of February. It will deal with blue economy, and the second one will be hopefully March in Egypt, and it will be a ministerial meeting on environment and climate action. We look forward to having two strong declarations from these two ministerial meetings, and also to taking into account the Mediterranean, the sustainable food system Mediterranean platform in both of them. One of the main purposes of the ministerial declaration on environment and climate action will be to rebalance our relation with nature, accelerating the transition to a green, circular, and carbon neutral economy. This is a continuation of a process that we already started in 2014 when we first celebrated a ministerial meeting on environment and climate action. This one, the one in Egypt, will be the second one, and we look forward to continuing the process that already started in 2014, the process of continuing the transition to a green, circular, and carbon neutral economy. As I always mention, the Mediterranean is a pioneer and a model for other regions of the world. The Mediterranean has been able already to establish since 2014 a Mediterranean Green Deal, and we have invested on the key three axes of the pollution prevention via sustainable consumption and production, and climate change, as nobody else has done elsewhere in the world before. In relation to the Ministerial on Environment and Climate Action, I would like to quote its operational arm, which is the Agenda 2030 for a greener Mediterranean, and its three common axes of work, within which this partnership with FAO, and CIHEAM will be framed. The three axes are the following. The first one supports the transition towards a green, circular, and socially inclusive economy. Secondly, to prevent and reduce pollution on land, air, and sea. And finally, to protect, preserve, manage, and restore natural resources in the Mediterranean region within an integrated ecosystem approach, including terrestrial, marine, and coastal dimensions. It is a joint agenda shaped over the past 2 years and to be run within the contribution of each Mediterranean country and a stakeholder. Finally, I will end up by also saying that we frame our collaboration with the FAO and CIHEAM on transformative food systems within this work on sustainable consumption and production and resource efficiency, knowing that food losses and waste are generated at each stage of the agri-food value chain, influenced by many different types of factors. Thus, therefore, the path to meet the objective of having food waste and fighting unsustainable environmental impactful practices go through systemic solutions able to be adapted to the particularities of each region, sector, and value chain. A special attention goes also and in parallel to food packaging as one of the main sources of plastic pollution, marine litter, and to sharing best practices among countries. Sustainable consumption interconnected with sustainable production is a pivotal approach to food challenges. It can help address the social, economic, and environmental dimensions within the Sustainable Development Goals, stimulating economic growth and conducive to healthy food, natural resources, and ecosystem protection and restoration, and climate change mitigation. So this is all from my side. I wish you a very fruitful debate in this meeting today, and I recommend you to look in detail to this joint initiative, Union for the Mediterranean, FAO-CIHEAM, the Sustainable Food System Mediterranean Platform, because we think it is a great contribution to the sustainability of not only of the Mediterranean region, but also about the whole continent of Europe and other continents in the world. Thank you so much and have a good day.
Thank you, Isidro. And just to note that Isidro and Placido will be back with us towards the end of the webinar live. So to close this opening session, we have a statement by Maximo Torero, Chief Economist at the Food and Agriculture Organization. So please play the video.
Dear colleagues, dear panelists, dear friends, good afternoon. It is my pleasure to present FAO at the side event in such an important setting, the third Global Conference of Sustainable Food Systems program of the One Planet Network. First of all, I would like to thank Plácido Plaza, Secretary General of CIHEAM, and Isidro Gonzalez, Deputy Secretary General of FOOFM, for being here today and for their valuable and long-standing cooperation in the Mediterranean region. FAO is honored to work with CIHEAM and UFM on this promising initiative focused on food systems transformation to accelerate the achievement of the 2030 Agenda targets. The world is not on track with SDG targets, including the ones directly related to food systems. The number of undernourished people and the burden of malnutrition continue to increase throughout the world. We know now that before COVID-19, we have 690 million people undernourished, and COVID-19 could increase those numbers up to 130 million people more. One of the biggest challenges is access also to healthy diets, which are unaffordable for more than 3 billion people. But there are also hidden costs and externalities associated with the current food consumption patterns, notably those related to the health and environmental consequences of our dietary choices. They increase the cost of dealing with health problems and adverse effects of climate variability, among other environmental challenges. However, these costs are not reflected in the price of foods and diet. COVID-19 is exacerbating these challenges even more, with threats to the economies, to jobs, to food security, nutrition, but also to the nature and environment. This does not leave us much choice. We must transform our food system. Such transformation needs to consider each specific context and will inevitably involve a number of trade-offs for countries and stakeholders. To achieve the goal, we will have to bring trade-offs, and we need to minimize those. The Mediterranean is no exception to this global picture. We have seen how growing human pressures and urbanization are changing consumption and production patterns in the context of climate change and decline of the ecosystems. Now, also hampered by COVID-19 as an additional surprise factor. Surprise is something that we cannot measure their outcomes, something that we cannot understand the probability of occurrence. And COVID-19 has become a surprise, and that's something that we need to learn from to avoid in the future. The question is how we use food to challenge all these drivers, to make systems more resistant to climate variability, to increase people's resilience, including through better jobs in rural and urban areas, and to improve nutrition and ultimately human health. Increased resilience means to be able to have and understand better the risks, to predict them, but also means to be able to cope with the risks when they occur. Those two elements are the elements that we need to try to bring a solution. The Mediterranean region has a key ingredient for this, the Mediterranean diet, which is common thread and heritage shared by all Mediterranean countries despite their cultural and political diversities. Indeed, the Mediterranean diet constitutes a powerful lever for bridging food consumption and production in a healthy and sustainable way, fostering food systems transformation in the whole region. To this effect, FAO, CIHEAM, and UFM have come together to jointly develop a regional framework to leverage the existing knowledge and experience and skills of institutions across the Mediterranean. The Sfs Med Platform is indeed a strategic initiative that will bring together all relevant stakeholders in the Mediterranean to develop and adopt an innovative and science-based framework of actions to support the transition towards more sustainable food systems, especially in such unprecedented times. But this needs to be concrete, science-based solutions, and this is also where FAO is committed to contribute to this joint multi-stakeholder effort. We are pleased to bring to this partnership our long history of engagement with the stakeholders in the areas of food and agricultural systems, in technical areas such as sustainable practices and systems, sustainability assessments, indicators, and voluntary standards and guidelines. At FAO, we are working with 4 accelerators that I believe are highly relevant to this Mediterranean initiative as well. First, data and big data, to make sure that we can target better our efforts and we can target better our interventions. Second, innovation, to ensure flexibility and optimize the efficiency of solutions proposed. Third, technology, with evidence on what works and why and where and when it works or not. We need to provide choices to countries. They need to make their own decisions. And finally, what we call the complements. And complements, what they do is try to bring the institutionality behind the governance, the human capital capabilities and institutions, which is what will ensure that the inclusiveness and sustainability in the long run of all the other 3 accelerators. It is true that these complements could slow down data, innovation, and technology, but it will make them faster after and in a more inclusive way if we do it properly. In the case of data analytical capabilities, for example, FAO is moving very quickly to build technical and analytical capacity for evidence-based decision-making through the Hand-in-Hand Geospatial Platform and the Data Lab for Statistical Innovation. A Mediterranean lens to data analysis and evidence generation will provide a substantial scientific base for an informed policy dialogue and transformative decision-making in the region. The UN Food Systems Summit, called in 2021 by the UN Secretary General, provides a further opportunity to countries and stakeholders for accelerating such efforts. And I am pleased to note that the rationale behind the Sfs Med Platform is fully in line with the vision and principles of such a summit and its preparatory process. To this effect, the platform will provide a multi-stakeholder arena for policy and technical dialogue on solutions for more sustainable food systems in the region and beyond, all in line with the summit's action tracks as a direct contribution to the summit and focusing in particular on its subsequent follow-up actions. The complexity of the challenges to foster more sustainable food systems can only be managed through collective multi-stakeholder dialogue and actions. The Sfs Med Platform checks all the boxes to contribute to this aim. We need to start now, we need to act now, and this platform will help us in this process. Let's work together to be able to have an excellent meeting today and to be able to move forward with the Sfs Med Platform. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you a fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all of you for your opening statements. That brings us to the end of the opening section of the webinar. So I would now like to give the floor to Sandro Donini, who will facilitate the panel session. Sandro.
Thanks, Jamie. It is a great pleasure to have this panel discussion that bring about the inclusive process of all the participants that is the main issue to have this multi-stakeholder, participatory, collaborative effort. And it's very important to give the credit to so many friends, to so many colleagues that has made this joint effort by FAO, CIHEAM, UPM happening. Today is just the start of the continuation of a long collaboration that need really a new form of a dialogue, new way to approach. And are the people that build the bridge. The institutions are fundamental, but for me, it is mandatory to acknowledge the contribution of so many participants that are there. Like, for example, when we were in Palermo, it was a fundamental, the contribution of Pasquale Steduto and Nicola La Maddalena, as well before of the division of nutrition and food of FAO and All'Arte, as well as Barbara Burlingame, as well Massimo Iannetta, Flavio Paoletti, Mauro Gamboni. So many are there in the audience. And I don't want to forget Nala Wala, Rekia Belansen, Jacques Delarue, the European Federation for Nutrition Society. There are many. I apologize if I forget some name, because this is now the start of a new adventure. It's not easy to have this kind of collaborative, inclusive approach. And in the next months, we will move forward to make this real and not just words. And this is why this panel discussion is really to start to understand the complexity of interconnection between land, water, and so many different aspects. So I would like really to make it short because we have not too much time. And I started to interact with the focal point of this coordination desk of the Sustainable Food System Platform that I am a coordinator. I have the honor to coordinate, hosted by the CIHEAM-FAO. Starting from José Valse, that is the focal point for the platform of FAO. By just putting a question to José. José, we have seen how COVID-19 has highlighted the need for a food system transformation if we are to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Target. How will the platform contribute to such a transformation across the Mediterranean? Thanks, José.
Okay, thank you, Sandro, for the question. I'm very happy to be here with all of you. And yes, indeed, we have seen how urgent it is to transform food systems, to make them more sustainable, to make them more resilient to the COVID or to shocks like the COVID related shocks, but also many others in the Mediterranean. We also know that it's not easy. It's not only about delivering healthy diets. It means also increasing an inclusive economic growth through, for example, employment or incomes. It means also protect the planetary health through addressing the climate change, through addressing natural resources pressures that are very present in the region. So the main objective of this platform is actually to help countries and stakeholders to navigate through this complexity, and to apply a sustainable food systems approach. For that, we mean that we need to consider all functions and actors across the food systems. So from the supply side, but also way to the demand side and including the consumers. But also we need to look at the sustainability dimensions all together. This, as we heard before in the other interventions, will involve trade-offs that will need to be managed. But it's clear that, and you were saying as well, that we cannot look at, for example, water scarcity issues on their own or in isolation without looking at the potential for food production, with market linkages, or without considering the nutrition, for example, anymore. And we see that there are some countries in the region that are really taking this direction. And for example, there is the EU with the farm to fork strategy that is clearly going towards that direction, but also some countries in the southern Mediterranean, or even also in the eastern Mediterranean. So based on that, we have also the Food System Summit. The Food System Summit provides 5 key action tracks that can be very useful actually for the platform to work towards this objective, no, of the 2030 agenda through the transformation of food systems. These action tracks, just to name them, they look at the access to safe and nutritious food. They look at sustainable consumption patterns. They look at nature positive production. They look at equitable livelihoods, and they look at resilience to shocks and vulnerabilities. All these are very, very relevant to the Mediterranean context. So in that sense, I think that the platform can be very instrumental in identifying the right and workable solutions to address all these issues, but also in providing advice to governments and to stakeholders on how to implement those solutions, no? On how to mobilize resources to implement those solutions. Because it's not only about having identified the actions, the transformative actions, but they will also need coordination. They will need joint plans for implementation. They will need clear pathways for change. And I think that the platform the Sfs Med platform can really have a big role to play in that. I will leave it there for the moment. Thanks.
Thanks, Jose. Like when you said big role to play, I want to add some few names because I cannot forget to mention Elliot Berry, Florence Segal, Fatima Ashen, Marie-José Amiot-Carlen, and many others that during this participatory process we will highlight. And now Roberto Capone. Roberto, what about as the follow-up of the second World Conference of the Revitalization of the Mediterranean Diet in Palermo, how will the Mediterranean diet contribute to the transformation of food system in the context of the Med Platform? Thanks, Roberto. Microphone, Roberto, please turn on.
Thank you, Sandro. Very good question. At the second World Conference on Mediterranean Diet that was organized by CIHEAM-FAO in Palermo, the Mediterranean diet was presented as a lever for bridging food consumption and production in a sustainable and healthy way towards more sustainable food systems in the Mediterranean region. Now, in the context of the Mediterranean Platform, that is an outcome of the Palermo Conference, the Mediterranean diet will play a central role in the CIHEAM intergovernmental dialogue on the need of transformation of food systems towards sustainability, with particular attention also to the centrality of the fisheries in Mediterranean food systems to accelerate the Agenda 2013 in the region. The Mediterranean diet has started to be analyzed by CIHEAM as a dietary pattern with multiple sustainability benefits, which are as follows: measure health and nutrition benefits; second, low environmental impacts and richness in biodiversity; positive local economic returns; high social and cultural value of food. Today, there is a very strong need, in the light of the COVID-19 pandemic, to enhance the Mediterranean diet as a sustainable driver for a change of route in the region. Therefore, CIHEAM, through its 4 Mediterranean institutes, intends to develop within the Mediterranean Platform develop the activities on Mediterranean diet on a regional, national, and international scale in synergy with FAO and UFM, as well as with all institutions that share with us this Mediterranean diet vision. Thank you.
Thanks, Roberto. And then other new name, Guld McPeckma, Ida Turrini, Jalila Ati, and many others. And then we move to Alessandra. Alessandra, food is one of the priority sectors to be tackled in our transition toward a green, circular, carbon neutral economy. how will the platform contribute to such a transformation across the Mediterranean, Alessandra?
Many thanks, Sandra. Many thanks, colleagues. It's indeed a great pleasure to be here today. Let me add just a few words to the extensive, comments and inputs provided by the colleagues. Obviously, food consumption and production trends and pattern nowadays show one of the main causes, actually, of environmental pressure, and definitely fundamental changes actually in the way food is indeed produced, processed, transported, distributed, marketed, and consumed, are of course indispensable to achieve sustainable development and indeed help the region toward this green, let's say, circular, innovation-based, socially inclusive, what can we say more, transition. It's very important actually to recall that the Mediterranean countries have already, let's say, committed to sustainable consumption and production and resource efficiency as main approaches to green economy. Already in 2014, we had the first ministerial, UFM Ministerial on Environment and Climate Change, where this was stated, and all the countries, all the 42 Euro-Mediterranean countries committed to that. And these same principles actually were absorbed the year after in 2015 within the other ministerial on blue economy. We have a very good opportunity now. Next year in 2021, we have, as it was already mentioned, the UN Food Summit. We have again two important ministerial at UFM level, indeed on environment and climate change and on blue economy, which will indeed give the opportunity to renew this political commitment. And of course, I mean, the sort of Mediterranean Green Deal is already at stake there. So in line also with what was said, the Mediterranean countries have already, let's say, committed towards green policy and plans, and we have a very good basis of practices and let's say also frameworks to operate. Food, of course, is and was also among the mainstreams. So let's say that what we have been focusing so far, and we will further develop through these very important and timely partnership, is indeed to reinforce all the aspects related to sustainable behaviors. Of course, it was mentioned already, sustainable diets, dependence, of course, on pesticides and nutrients, increase in organic farming, animal welfare, food losses, waste management, and so on. And of course, I mean, that all goes with more sustainable, let's say, standards. I'd like also to mention that this approach goes also in parallel with another important alarming challenge that we have with respect, of course, to biodiversity loss. And again, you know, the COVID-19 is just, you know, an expression of how crucial, let's say, our biodiversity loss is and how much it makes us, let's say, vulnerable. Therefore, a well-functioning, actually, food system is a top priority to achieve. It was also mentioned that indeed we need to reconnect to our territories. We need to look indeed at more local dimension and indeed ensure inclusivity and let's say a more integrated approach, also, let's say, tackling employment aspects. Now, your other question was indeed how.
Sorry, Alexander, we are rushing time. We are out of time. I have really to please ask you, please. We cannot really. We apologize with all the participants for the question and ask it to Giuseppe if you can really, Giuseppe, give us some very, very fast insight in 1 minute less. I'm sorry about that, but we have no any more time left about the rule of research innovation in this platform. I'm sorry, Alexander, sorry, Giuseppe, but we went a little bit out. Thanks.
Don't worry, I'll be very fast. Thank you, first of all, for your question. Well, food systems require an open spirit of multilateral cooperation for innovating themselves and for reaching a higher degree of sustainability. We can do it only if we truly bet on the more than 33 million students from university we have in our Euro-Mediterranean region. We are talking about the most educated generation we have ever had. So graduates and researchers have the potential for changing food systems for the better if we support them. Through this platform, we have an opportunity for doing this. This platform, for instance, can focus on supporting scientific exchanges, promote science diplomacy, joint research actions, and can focus on skills development on the youth that chooses to work in this field, especially with regards of women in science. For instance, we can, by supporting them best practices on trainings and career development. So in short, sustainable food systems are an amazing opportunity for anchoring the career of our youth to a field where the future of the region depends, and in turn reinforce the career prospects. Thank you.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Sorry for the audience that we will reply to all the questions that we received. And I would like really, with a big honor, to ask to join us, Placido Plaza and Isidro Gonzalez, to have some kind of final remarks from them, how to move forward. How do you see, from your institutional perspective, the platform moving forward? Thanks, Placido. If you can say fast, and then Isidro after. Sorry that we arrive a little beyond rush. Thanks for your understanding.
Okay. Thank you, Sandro. I'll be very fast. Just tell you very briefly that CIHEAM will be moving forward in starting the implementation of those activities that are considered in the biennial work plan of the agreement of cooperation that is now under signature between the three institutions, FAO, UFM, and CIHEAM, and also within the framework of the 10-year work plan that will aim to accelerate the implementation of the Agenda 2030 in the Mediterranean. More concretely, we'll start operationalizing the platform through specific actions, meaning supporting the coordination desk that is located at CIHEAM Bari, and starting the implementation of the flagship projects that are considered in the cooperation agreement. This is one of the first and the main lines. We think also that it will be very important to develop the platform community of practice, and this community of practice be inclusive of all interested parties. And so in this, we also will aim to develop a series of web food dialogues as a contribution to the 2021 UN Food Systems Summit. We have been talking about the second World Conference on the Mediterranean diet. We will see ways and means in organizing one centered next year on sustainability of Mediterranean food systems. And naturally, within the scope of our intergovernmental frame, we will foster advocacy for the implementation of this Agenda 2030, in which we think our platform really fits. Thank you.
Thanks, Placido. Isidro, please, what is, from your institutional perspective, the contribution that the platform can give? Thanks.
Thank you, Sandra. Good morning again from Barcelona, from Spain. Nice to be with you. Well, the UFM is fully committed to the sustainable development of the region. As you know, I'm glad that this launching of this important Mediterranean Food System Platform takes place at the same time when we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Barcelona Declaration. We had our meeting of foreign ministers, regional forum last Friday. Good occasion. We had the wars online, also the live of the King of Spain and the Prime Minister, President of Spain, also who joined the meeting. So I'm glad that this is a very nice coincidence that we are launching now this important platform. The Mediterranean Food System Platform is building builds on a strong partnership. Has already a very intense, a very tight work plan for the future. And the UFM, the Union for the Mediterranean, we are always in action. We are integrating these sustainable food system platform principles and activities in our work, in our daily work. First of all, through the preparation to our ministerial meetings, I mentioned them in my first intervention. We are preparing 2 ministerial meetings very soon. In February, 42 ministers we're dealing with blue economy will meet online in an event that we will hold. And secondly, we hope to celebrate with physical presence in Egypt, hopefully in March, a ministerial meeting on environment and climate action. And this platform will be there, will be included, and all ministers will be, of course, involved. We're also introducing already the Sustainable Food Platform, food system platform principles in our partnership with institutions or with programs such as Prima, Blue Med, Integrated Med, Green Growth Community, Sfs Med, etc., etc. And also we are integrating the principles of these sustainable food system platforms in our projects on the ground that foster innovation, science policy dialogue, environmental protection and restoration, as well as green transition. For the UFM, the guiding principle will be the transition towards a green, innovation-based circular economy. In this respect, the upcoming UFM ministries, as I say, will be accompanied by the official launching of our greener Med agenda, the Agenda 2030 of the Union for the Mediterranean, which we will call Agenda 2030 for a greener Mediterranean, and together with the United Nations Food Summit. So congratulations again. I think this is a historic opportunity for doing things together, our 3 institutions, and for contributing to the sustainability of the Mediterranean region. Thank you, and thank you for the invitation also.
Thanks, Isidro, very much. And now, Jamie, also from FAO perspective, and also by doing the wrap-up, can you try to do in very compressed time to make your perspective as well the wrap-up? Thanks very much, Jamie.
Thank you, Sandro. So yeah, let me start by focusing in on a few takeaways from today's session. I think first we heard how the Sfs Med Platform can make a significant contribution towards better food systems in the region. One of the main deliverables will be concrete, science-based, scalable, but also context-specific solutions. And I think this is critical for really moving from big ideas down to operational, actionable solutions which make sense in a particular context. But solutions on their own are not enough. We need all stakeholders to be working together in an organized way to ensure that we operationalize these solutions. It's only through better alignment of the objectives, the perspectives, but also the actions of the many stakeholders involved in food systems that we're going to see significant change. So I think in this respect, the initiative that's being presented today and its goals are very much aligned to the outcomes that we see from the Food Systems Summit. For example, identifying transformative solutions, elevating public discussion on the transformation of our food systems, and very importantly, making sure we have a system in place to measure the impact. So looking forward to the next steps of this multi-stakeholder initiative, I'd like to note that the Sfs Med Platform will be hosting early next year a series of independent dialogues on the Mediterranean food system. And this will be done within the framework of the independent dialogues of the Food Systems Summit. It will provide stakeholders an opportunity to explore the challenges faced by their food systems, but also to feed in their thinking and ideas into the process towards the summit. So let me end this side event by thanking all participants very much, and of course the audience for joining us, and we hope to see many of you very soon in the closing session of the Sustainable Food Systems Conference, which will begin shortly. Goodbye, and thank you to everyone.
Bye.
Bye.